investing really means that you are investing at the early stage. And this is just my own interpretation, right? That you have to be a little bit angelic about it, right? So there has to be something like I'm doing something for someone else. It's not just that I'm doing it to get something out of it.
We're in the TigerHall with Christina Teo. Christina, you are a serial angel investor and chief builder at She1K, a syndicate where you work with corporates to fund and board startups. So you've just wrapped up season 2 of Sea Shark Tank, a program you run where 18 startups pitch to a jury of 70 people with 70% female representation, comprising of VCs, corporate ventures, serial entrepreneurs, and startup ecosystem experts. So I wanted to find out from you what it actually means to be an angel investor. So could you start by telling us, what does angel investing mean to you?
Thank you for asking. I'm at a stage of my life when I'm about empowering others. During my corporate days, it was all about me, and I've had a blessed career, always at the forefront of new technology, from, launching the first laptop to the first broadband, and being with Yahoo, launching Yahoo Messenger, and even launching the world's first Windows smartphone. So today, I view angel investing as giving back. By how the name connotates, the mindset is really important. I retired early, and for 8 years prior to coming back to Singapore and starting this new lease of life in the startup ecosystem, I was stagnant. It was by choice. I wanted to kind of take a step back and pursue my own personal goals. But in the last 3 years, getting so involved with startups, in fact, is very self-empowering. I get to leverage everything that I've learned in my corporate days to share with the startups we invest and work with. But at the same time, I'm learning a lot from them. So for me, angel investing has been something that has really empowered this part of my life. And I strongly encourage a lot of corporate leaders to get involved. It's a great way of exposing yourself.
So that's nice. I like the idea that for you, it's about giving back. I suppose the next obvious question is, how is this different to other kinds of investing?
So if you invest in the stock market, it's less personal, right? You may know a lot about the company from the media or from the investment notes, but it's really, you're not involved. Yeah. If you buy a property, it's an asset you own. However, when you angel invest, you are giving your money, your personal money, to someone you probably don't know very well. You're probably betting on a person who will be very resourceful to drive his business through thick and thin. It's not always that you can get that personally involved with a startup. Depends on how you start your angel investing journey. In my case, I do get pretty involved with the startups.
How much money does someone need to get involved? I mean, my perception of angel investing is people who are already quite high net worth, who they've built companies themselves, they have a lot of capital, who can call themselves an angel investor.
Yeah. A few years ago, that would be true. The angel investing ecosystem right now is pretty mature. And hence, smaller investors could actually join the bandwagon. So you don't need to be a millionaire to be an angel investor. You can start as small as 10,000. But I would say typically, if you have a comfortable 25 to 50,000 to start with one startup, that would be ideal.
So in terms of how much money you need to get started and the kind of person you need to be to do this, I mean, could you just be someone who has a lot of money, like you inherited it from your rich daddy? Or do you need to have the experience to actually, give back, as you say, get involved and help?
Okay. I think most people who get into angel investing comes with the attitude of contributing. So they do want to have something to give to that startup, right? Or the sector that the startup is in. Or it could be something that they're really passionate about. So yes, it is possible that the investor has no linkage whatsoever, no relevant experience in the sector that the startup is in. It could be just something that the investor is really passionate about. So you're right that you could be an angel investor just from a monetary point of view, where you want to provide the funding to support a startup or a founder that you truly believe in.
Because it sounds quite sexy, right?
Yes.
So I mean, say you're unemployed, you've inherited a load of money. You now, you don't need to say, "Oh, I'm unemployed." You can say, "I'm an angel investor." Makes you sound really cool.
Oh, in fact, I think this is true. I mean, this is trending. Let's be real about it. It is trending. And that's why at She1K, we actually look for corporate executives with more than 15 years industry experience. Some of them have just left corporate, right? Some of them are contemplating to leave corporate. So it's really giving them something to be more active in a very meaningful way.
Are there any wrong reasons that people tend to get into it?
Yeah, if you are entering this with the idea of pure financial gains, then I would say this is probably not the option for you. Many startups do fail. So you almost have to get into this thinking that you could lose it all. I always say that it's almost like going into a casino. You know how much money you could part with and not sweat it. That's when you can get into angel investing.
So the best attitude is maybe one like your own, that you wanted to give back and you want to work with the startups and get your hands dirty a bit.
I would say that. Having said that, most of our investors and our members in She1K as a syndicate are corporate executives who are very, very busy. So for them, it's a little bit of a hybrid, as in they do not mind contributing some of their time in advising, but mostly they leave it to us because they really can't go through the entire process end to end.
I'm wondering, because it sounds like quite an exciting thing, or to be able to say, "Oh, I'm an angel investor." It sounds great. When people first meet you and they find out that you do this, what's the thing they ask you about the most?
Well, first of all, a lot of people still don't know what this is. So the first question would be, what is this all about? Right? As you said, it sounds so interesting. Of course, they've seen the things that we've done and they can make a guess that we are very involved in supporting the startups beyond just financials. Right. The other question they still ask, of course, because it's their personal money. So what's the return? So that would be a pretty strong question.
So there are people that are very money motivated and not necessarily wanting to give back.
I think it's just more as if I'm parting with my money, I would like to know if there's any upside.
Are there any things, Christina, that you've only discovered about angel investing, having done it for so long?
Yeah. One thing, on the one hand, angel investing is not new, right? So there has been already a lot of system and standards built. And we speak a common language, so that's really great. You can understand what each other means. However, I discovered that every single deal is a unique deal. The point about valuation is probably the most tricky one. So how do you value the market? That's the difference between a company that's listed on the stock market, right? You kind of know what is the valuation. But here, you really do need to figure it out. And every case is different, and there isn't a very clear formula of estimating a startup's valuation.
Okay, what would you say is the most underrated way of succeeding as an angel investor?
Yeah, success as an angel investor is rather subjective. So I think that's really depends on everybody's cup of tea. Yeah. So for myself, I see the biggest gratification when I see a founder transform and grow. That gives me a lot of satisfaction, more than pure returns. But hey, who would not be excited about returns? When you see a startup grow in valuation and when you see that they can attract further rounds of funding, it does make you feel like, hey, I have supported the right founder. So, and then beyond that, I think one more thing I would like to mention is investing in a purpose. So you're not just investing for returns, but you're investing in a purpose. And the purpose does not have to be impact oriented, but if it is, it's a big plus.
Can you tell us any stories? Like, take us inside your life as an angel investor. What's the most interesting story that people would be curious to know about?
Well, first of all, when I first saw this word, I was like, why would someone call themselves an angel investor instead of just an investor, right? So that was intriguing to me. And then I made a big mistake when I first started. The first question I asked, because that's my corporate training, right, was, are you profitable? That was the first question I asked all the startups during my first year. And they all gave me this blank stare. You know, it's rather embarrassing to go ask, why are you giving me this kind of response. Then I talked to some fellow friends, and that's the other thing about angel investing. Not all your friends are angel investors, so that sometimes you don't even know who to go to talk to about such things. So I was lucky I found someone, and he said to me, "Oh, it's a totally different focus in the startup world, unlike corporate." So you really talk about traction, you talk about scalability, you talk about future milestones, that sort of thing. So then that's how I changed how I look at startups. And that in itself has been really stimulating for me.
It's a good point that you bring up about the name. I mean, is anyone who invests in startups an angel investor? Or what is the definition?
Angel investing really means that you are investing at the early stage. And this is just my own interpretation, right? That you have to be a little bit angelic about it, right? So there has to be something like I'm doing something for someone else. It's not just that I'm doing it to get something out of it, and that something is returns, right? So I interpret it as that. So when I first got started in angel investing, I intentionally look for a startup that has deep technology. And so we spotted a drones company. So they created the smallest smart drone in the market. And they happen to be a Singapore company. So I thought it was as easy as, hey, I'm going to give you this money and let's get going, right? But I soon realized that took us months to close this deal because there are a lot of moving parts, even when you're ready to provide money to a startup, because very often you are not the only investor. There are many other investors involved. They may have looked for other sources of funding because at angel funding, maybe your share is not as big as others. And so the startup would still need to continue in the journey of fundraising. So I find that this has been really intriguing for me because just learning the ropes as we do it. So it could be quite frustrating at times because you're still figuring out all the missing pieces and the moving parts. But after that, I think we learn a lot from that.
Okay, so for people for whom this all sounds great, how do they get started?
There are a couple of ways. I mean, today, especially if you're based in Singapore, there are so many startups around. There's abundance of startups seeking for funding. And even on LinkedIn, you can see, startups shouting out to say that they're looking for funding. So you definitely can approach them one-on-one. Directly yourself. We recommend coming through people like ourselves, and we're not the only syndicate in the market. This is because then you get to leverage a lot of things. You get the synergy of, just simply in terms of due diligence, in terms of checking out the startups. So there's people behind this, right? Doing it for you. And especially if you're new to this. The other thing is peer learning. Right? That's what we have just done in Sea Shark Tank. 31 executives got together to evaluate 10 startups of diverse sectors. So this is a steep learning curve, no doubt, but it's so empowering when you are able to learn with other peers from other sectors. So I think just doing it together. So we live by a mantra that alone you can do so little, but together we can do so much more.